Hello, welcome to my brand new WordPress tutorial. Are you someone who has been wanting to create a website for yourself, your client, your business, but have no idea where to start? Are you looking for a tutorial that requires no previous experience whatsoever? Well, you've come to the right place. In this tutorial, we are going to be using the Astra theme and Elementor to create a beautiful, professional looking website from scratch. And don't worry if you've never used WordPress before, or don't consider yourself tech savvy. By the end of this video, you'll have all the skills and knowledge you need to create a website that you can be proud of. First things first, let me ask you 3 questions. Have you ever wanted to create a website but didn't know where to start? Have you ever been intimidated by WordPress or the technical jargon that comes along with it? And finally, have you ever wished that someone could just guide you through the entire process step by step? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then this tutorial is definitely for you. And if you're worried about me speaking too fast or too slow, don't worry. You can always adjust the speed of the video using the YouTube settings. So, what are you waiting for? Join me as we create a website together that you can be proud of. As a bonus, I'll even give you my free WordPress launch checklist at the end of the tutorial. So let's get started. We will be using free resources all the way throughout this tutorial, and I'll take you through every step by step on how to create a beautiful and fully functional WordPress website just like this over right here. I'll take you through every step on how you can create and set up your website styles, typography, colors, and everything, including the responsive settings for each and every page and section of this website. I'll take you through on how you can create your home page, your about page, your services page, your blog posts page, your contact page, and even how to write blog posts on your WordPress website, all for free using free resources. I'll not only show you how to add some advanced features like floating effects and animated headings and a click to call button just like this, whereby your website visitor will be able to click and immediately make you a phone call right from your website. But I'll also take you through on how you can get started getting like a domain name and hosting. Of course, this will cost you about $13 for the very first month, but after that, everything is free that we are going to be using in this tutorial. You do not need to have any prior knowledge on how to build websites or even any understanding of how page builders work. However, if you like to have the files that I've used in this tutorial, I'll be leaving a link right down in the description of this video so you can go and access them and just reuse or even import the same files like you see on this website. So without any further ado, let's get started. To get started, we are going to need a domain name and hosting for our website. And I recommend 2 service providers. In this case, I have Hostinger and I have Cloudways. I'll be leaving the link right down in the description of this video. With Hostinger, we can host our website as well as get a domain name from Hostinger. And you can budget for about $10 for a domain name to start with. For example, the .com extension or even other extensions like .cloud, .shop, and a lot more. And you can as well host your website using Hostinger. So if you come down to WordPress hosting, you can plan to spend about $12 a month for your hosting, meaning that you'll have about 100 websites, 100 gigs of SSD storage, and unlimited bandwidth. In this tutorial, I want to show you the tech setup that I'm actually using. I am getting my domains from Hostinger and I'm hosting my website with Cloudways. So with Hostinger, you'll have an SSD drive where your websites will be seated. But with Cloudways, I have a cloud server where I have the option to set up how much RAM my server will be having, the processor core, the storage, and the bandwidth. And in this case, I have all my websites currently running on Cloudways, and I'm having this package over here, which is $50 a month. And my server is having 4 gigs of RAM, 2 cores of the processor, and 80 gigs of RAM, and 80 gigs of storage, and 4 terabytes. And obviously, I'm able to have unlimited websites on this package. Now, I'll be very honest, ever since I moved my websites to Cloudways, I have witnessed a significant change in the performance of my websites. Now, I am not saying that websites hosted on Hostinga don't perform really well, but there has been a significant change when I started hosting with Cloudways, where I'm able to set up my server, core, the processor, and all that stuff. So in a nutshell, I highly recommend both the two services, but in this tutorial, I'll be using Hostinga to get my domain. So I'll come here to domain, search for a domain, and then add or look up for a domain that I want to use. In this case, I want to use braindoctors.com. So search for this. Now this looks like it is already taken. So what am I going to do? I'll just use this other option for this tutorial. So I'll simply add this to the cart. By the way, I already have a Hostinga account. So once I'm logged in, I have this kind of interface here. Then what I have to do is say, buy the domain. I just want to have this for 1 year. And I'm going to say, choose a payment method. You can see that I'm only going to spend about, $1.17 just to get the domain. So I'm going to say pay with PayPal. I'll enter my PayPal email and password, agree and pay. I'll finish the registration by using my existing profile. I'll say continue. I don't want to have web hosting. Of course, I need the web hosting, but in this case, I'll not be using the Hostinga web hosting services. And now we have our domain and it is active. And now we can point this domain to our hosting. Like I've told you already that I have my hosting with Cloudways, and mine goes for $50 a month, which is 4 GB, 2-core processor, 80 GB of storage, and 40 GB of bandwidth. I also have unlimited application installations. I mean, I can install as many WordPress websites as I want. I have all these other features. I'll be able to install a free SSL, and all these packages over here, you are able to install a free SSL. So when I come back here to Cloudways, you see that I have an active server running, and currently I have 15 websites running on this server. So like I told you already that once you sign up with Cloudways, you get a server or this server setup. For my case, my server is 4 GB. You can get one for 2 GB or even 1 GB depending on the budget that you're looking forward to. But this server will vary based on the performance and the tech setup of the server. So we are going to add applications, or I can just simply switch from servers to applications, and right over here all my applications will be listed, including my personal website is hosted on Cloudways, which is gotechug.com. So what I'm going to do is say add an application. I'll select a server. Remember I told you that if you have more than one servers, they will be listed inside the servers area here. But in this case, I have only one server. So I'll select my server. I'll say add an application. I'll select the kind of application or type of application that I want. I want a WordPress application, but you can install directly a WooCommerce application, a PHP application, a Laravel application if you are into development. So I'll select WordPress, but I want to use a clean, no Cloudways optimization application. Install. I'll name my application Drain Doctors. It can actually vary, can be a different name like Drain Doc. It doesn't really have to be that name of the website, but for identification purposes. Now this will take me about 2 minutes to have my application set up. Now what does the setup process involve? What Cloudways is doing now is to install WordPress on my server, just like Softaclass or even Hostinga does right inside the cPanel, where you just simply say, create a new WordPress website, and boom, you have the WordPress website installed, and also you have the database created. This is what Cloudways is doing at the moment as well. So now I see DrainDoc has been installed. I can now come back here to my applications and go down here. I'll see something called DrainDoc. Now here are my application details. In this case, you have the application URL, which is the URL that you can use to access your application. This is like a real working, website already. So if I click on go to the application, we have this subdomain, which has been created by Cloudways, and it has installed a fresh install of WordPress. Now, if I want to log into my application, I come back over here. I can just simply go and copy my username and copy the password, then I can get into my application. I can click over here to the admin panel. Now this will take me to the WP-admin dashboard where I'm able to add my username. So come to Cloudways, copy my username, simply click, come here, add the username, come back to Cloudways, copy the password and add the password there and login. Now this will take me to the back end of WordPress and I have access now to my website and start creating from scratch. Now most people are afraid to check out Cloudways and to set up your own server, but that's as simple as it is. Like a few clicks here and there, you have your server active, add your application and you are good to go. Back now here to Cloudways. Remember we bought our domain. So how do we point our domain to our Cloudways application? So inside Cloudways with your application selected, in this case it is DrainDoc, I'm going to come down below here to domain management. You see that we already have a subdomain which was created by Cloudways, and we can for the meantime use this subdomain as we create our website, make all the changes and even share the URL to our clients and all that stuff. But if you have a custom domain, this is how you add your custom domain right within Cloudways. So just say add a domain, and here I'll have to add a link of my domain. So here is my domain. Under Hostinger, I come back here to my Cloudways account, paste my domain, and then say add a domain. Now we will have to go back to Hostinger so that we can point to our server's IP address, and that way our domain will be able to work with our WordPress application on our server in Cloudways. So how do you get your server's IP address in Cloudways? You come here to Access Details, and you see we have this public IP address. Copy that. Then come here to Hostinger, and then we have a section that says DNS/name servers. Click over there. Now we are going to choose the area code, which is pointing to our website in this case. So I'll leave this as it is, or with the @ symbol, and then it points to this IP address, and I'll leave this time to live on the default. So I'll say add a record. This is only applying to our domain called draindoctors.online. Now when you come here to our records and you look at the A records, you see that we have the A record which is pointing to our root domain, which is pointed to this server, and that's it. So now we go back to Cloudways, and we are going to make our draindoctors.online as our primary domain, so we don't use this subdomain that was created using Cloudways. So we're going to say make primary, set as primary. Looks good. Now let's try to visit this website. So just copy the URL and I will go straight here and paste draindoctors.com. You see that it is not yet pointing to our application or our WordPress website installed. Now this may take up to 72 hours for the domain to propagate, so don't worry if it's not working right now. In my case, it took me about 3 hours to have my domain pointing back here to my server via the A record. And when I come back here to Cloudways, I am able now to use my domain using the URL draindoctors.online and also my username and password. Now I'm able to log into WordPress. However, before we go into logging into WordPress, let's install an SSL certificate. And the good thing is that Cloudways gives us the possibility to add a free SSL using the free Encrypt SSL certificate. So come here to SSL certificate and make sure that you enable the Let's Encrypt certificate. Add the domain that you want to install the SSL or where you want your SSL certificate to work with. So we have the first one, which is the root domain, and also the subdomain that starts with www.draindoctors.online. We want to enable that this certificate auto renews every after 90 days. So you make sure that is enabled and then save changes. That way we have installed an SSL certificate on our website and we will forget about that because Cloudways will take responsibility of updating and renewing our SSL certificate. Now we can visit our website, reload back again, and you see that now we have our website pointed to draindoctors.com, and this is the WordPress install that we have currently. Even when we check into our SSL certificate details, it shows that this website is secure and the certificate is valid, and we're actually using the Let's Encrypt certificate or the Let's Encrypt SSL certificate. Great, now let's go and log into the back end of our website. So by coming to draindoctors.online/wp-admin, this should be able to take us to the login page for WordPress. Come back here to Cloudways, copy the username, paste it here, come back, copy the password, and paste it right over here. Then we say login. As it logs in, I want to show you that if you want to view the password, just click over here and then you view the password. Alternatively, you can make changes to the password and create your own password, but I prefer to use the default settings for now. Now back here to our website, we are fully logged into the dashboard. Now we can get started building our website using free resources. That means the Astra theme and Elementor. Let's get started. So to get started, let's first do some basic settings for WordPress. First of all, I'm going to come over here to users, user profile, and I'm going to change the user profile of my website. So in this case, it is pulling in the user profile of your account from Cloudways. So I'm going to change this to first name as Drain Doctor or Drain Doctors. I want to display the name publicly as Drain Doctors, and you can choose to change the email over here, but I'll leave it as it is. You can change the profile picture or the gravatar image, but for me, I don't want to do anything like that for now. I'll update. That way my username here changes to Drain Doctors. Now I'm going to come right over here to settings, general settings, and we want to make sure that our website title is actually the title of our website. So in this case, it's going to be Drain Doctors. That title will appear right over here, and we want to add a tagline for our website. The tagline is what appears right over here in the browser tab. So the name of the website and then the tagline. So in this case, the tagline is going to be clearing your pipes with precision. So clearing. That's it. So everything here looks nice and neat. We can change the time zone. So in my case, the time zone is +3 or Nairobi. So I can say, and then you can make changes to the date format and when your week actually starts. So I prefer to say Sunday and save changes. I'm going to come here to reading settings, and I want to set up a static page for my home page and the posts. But before I do that, I have to have these pages created. Now, when you look on our final website, we have a home page, about page, services page, blog, and contact page. So let's go back to our dashboard and we create these pages. So under pages, add a new page, or in fact, let me first open up the pages dashboard. So these are the available pages already, but I want to start by creating a new page. So we're going to say home, publish. I'll add another page, about, publish the page. I'll add another, and the last page is going to be contact. So the blog page is going to be our blog archive page in that case. So contact, publish, and publish. Great. Now let me go back to our pages area. Now you see that we have all the pages listed here. Now back to our settings, reading settings. We are going to set up a static page, which is going to be our home page, which we have just created, and our blog posts page is going to be our blog page that we created, and then our save changes. So in case you don't want your website to be, indexed by search engines during the process of you creating, you can disable that feature here, just like I'm going to do. But please don't forget to activate this feature once you are done building your website. So in this case, I'm going to save changes, and that's it. Now I'm going to come down below here to permalinks, and I'm going to change my permalink structure to post name, because if I open up any page or post, I want that the post URL actually displays the name of the post, or the post name in this case. So I'm going to say save changes. Now it is time to go and add a theme that we are going to be using. So under appearance, themes, we are going to say add a new theme. We will install the Astra theme. It actually shows up over here. In case you don't see it showing up, just search for Astra, install, and have it activated. Now when I come back here to my website and reload, you'll see that the layout changes because we have changed the theme. All right, great. So our website title and the pages showing up over here, but I don't like how they are organized. I'm going to first of all go and now fix our navigation. So back here to themes, come down to appearance, skip the themes part, come straight to menus, and we are going to create a new menu. So main menu, I'll call it. It's going to be the primary menu. Create menu. I'll assign pages to this menu. Now, this is our primary menu on our fully completed website, so we are going to have them in this order. How do you do that? Under menus, we're going to come to view all pages. We'll add our pages, add to the menu. Now we can reorder these pages. So we start with home, then about, then services, and then blog and contact. We save changes. We come back here to our page, reload, joindoctors.online. Now you see that our navigation menu is in the same order that we want it to be. Now this is the most interesting part about this tutorial, where we are going to be creating our headers and then the footers. But before we do that, we are going to first set up our global fonts, our colors, the typography, and all that stuff. So to get started, we are going to go back to our dashboard and we are going to come here to the customizer. Now, this is the theme customizer for Astra. And if you have a different theme, this may look totally different. That's why I highly advise that if you're following up this tutorial, just have the Astra theme. That way it is easy for you to follow along with me so you can achieve the same results. Inside the customizer, we are going to go to the global settings. Let's start with the typography. There are some presets already here provided by Astra, and I'm going to use the first preset here, but I'll make some adjustments to it. So I'll select the first one. I am going to select the font family as Open Sans, and I'll set the font weight to inherit. Now that will inherit the already preset font weights, and I'll set the font size to 18. That's it. I'll come to the heading fonts. Now the heading font or the headings font is what will be applied to all headings that will be on our website. I'll set the font to be Montserrat for our headings, this here. And for the variations, we're going to set that to be bold, so which is 700. And the font weight is going to be the semi-bold, which is 800, and leave everything on the default settings. I'll come to the H1 font, and I'm going to leave everything here to inherit the font face and the font weight, and the font size is going to be 54 pixels. And just to check the heading 2, we want to see that this is inheriting, and also the font size here, we're going to set it to be 48 pixels, and I'll leave the rest on the default settings. Now, if you want to see a preview of exactly what you are doing here, you're going to see how these look like when you open up our Elementor editor. And if we are not happy about what we have set up, we can always come back here and change the font style and the sizing and all that stuff. For now, we are done setting up the typography of our website. But I have to mention that this is a very crucial part of our website because this will dictate how our fonts, our titles, and how our text is going to look like in the content and in the blog posts on our website. So make sure that you set up that correctly and then you move on to the next section. And now we're going to set up our colors. By default, Astra creates, a global color palette, but we can make changes to this color palette to make it our own or to customize it in that case. So I already have my color palette or the colors that I chose to use on this website, which I also advise you to already have, because like you already know it, you should have specific colors or a color palette that you're going to be using in your web project. So I am not going to go into the process of how you can choose colors for your web project because that can be a separate other video, but I already have colors that I'm going to be using in this project, and I advise that you already get yours and then you just implement them over right here. I'll start with the first color. I'll change this color here and come here, paste my color code. That is for the first color. My second color, color 2. Paste my color code. My third color, I'll paste my color code. My fourth color, I'll also paste that color code here. My fifth color is actually going to be a white color. That's an FFF as my fifth color. Then the sixth color is going to be a lighter version of our green. So back here. Now our seventh color is going to be a lighter version of our orange. And then we are going to have the eighth color, which is going to be a complete transparent color. So no color for this. So drag this and I make this color completely transparent, so we don't have any color for that in this case. And the last one is going to be a complete black. Now this is how I chose my color. So I have, the primary color and then I have the secondary color. So for the primary and secondary color, I have a lighter versions of those colors and I can use these as backgrounds. I can use these as overlays in my designs. And the same here, I have black, which will be actually the color for our text. And then I also have a lighter version of that black. And then I have a white. I can use it anywhere I want. And as well, I have my black color. Now for the transparent part of this color palette, I can choose to have no color to certain sections of our website, as you'll see in this tutorial. Now I'm going to start by assigning my colors in the color palette to the parts of my website where I want them to apply. So for the accent color or for the accents, I'm going to use my green. And for the links, the link on normal, this is going to be a green. And on hover, it is going to turn to our orange. And now let's come to the headings. All my headings from H1 to H6, they will be in my black color, which is that already selected. And for the body text, it will also be in my black color. And then for our borders, I'll let them to be using a lighter version of our orange. Now let's go down here to the surface color options, content background as white, and I'll also set up my site background as white. So we have these colors already set. So I just have to select them from the options and I am good to go. Next, I'm going to simply hit publish. Let's go back here, come to our container. We will leave our container width to 1200 pixels and the narrow container width to 750 pixels. And as well, I'll leave the layout to be content boxed. Come back here, come to our buttons. So we are going to set a style for our button or buttons. So we'll select this option. We want them to be having a rounded border radius with a color fill. And the text for our button or normal is going to be white, which is a color we already selected, or preset. Also set it on hover. So if someone hovers our buttons on normal, the text will be in white, and on hover, it will also be in white. For the background, for all our buttons, wherever they will be, the background color will be green, and on hover, it will change to an orange. I'll leave the rest on the default. And then I'm going to set up the padding for our button. Everything here is going to be in pixels, and the padding on top will be 15, and right will be 25, left will be 15, and right will be 25. We will set up the border radius to be 30 pixels, so I'll just leave it here on the default settings. Again, we are going to see how this looks like when we open up our Elementor editor and add these elements to see how they look like on the page. Alternatively, we can make adjustments as we have a preview to those elements right here in the customizer. So I'll publish for now. So we are going to go into our header builder, where we will be able to create or build our header just like what you see here. But before we go into that, let's go and look into how our buttons look like, how our colors look like, how our headings look like before we go into creating our header. Now, this is going to require us to install the Elementor page builder just to see a preview right within the page builder of what we are going to be doing. So I'm going to come here and exit my customizer. I'll come to plugins. I'll add a new plugin. By the way, before I add a new plugin, if we look into the install plugins, currently we have these two plugins, and I'm not going to use any of these plugins. So I'll delete all of them. Come back here to add new. I'll install the Elementor page builder. Just look up for Elementor. By the way, if you don't know about Elementor, Elementor is, I think, currently the biggest or the largest WordPress page builder out there. I love using Elementor. My channel has over 300 videos or video tutorials about the Elementor page builder. It's currently used by over 13 million users. So if you are considering building a website, the page builder of choice is Elementor. So I'm going to say install and activate. And by the way, Elementor doesn't require you to have any technical skills on how to build websites. You don't have to know how to code. You just have to drag and drop elements here and there, and you are good to go. I'll come back here to pages, all pages. I'm going to open up my home page. I'll say edit the page with Elementor. This should be able to take me into the Elementor page editor or the Elementor editor. Let me start by dragging my heading widget, duplicate. So I'm going to make this heading 1, and I'll come back here. This is heading 2. I duplicate this heading again, and then also duplicate this once again, and duplicate the other. So this is heading 2. We want to change this to heading 3, and change this to heading 4, and change this to heading 5. So that's how our headings are going to look like if we start creating our website. And now you realize that our headings are pulling up a style that is by default added using Elementor. Now, we don't want to use the Elementor styling in this tutorial. We want to use the theme styles that we set up. So how do we configure that we use the default fonts and colors that we have set up in our theme? We are going to do that by disabling the default colors and fonts from Elementor. To do that, I'm going to first of all update. I'll come back here to our dashboard. I'll open up the Elementor settings, and just under settings, we are going to come here to disable default colors, disable the default colors, and also disable the default fonts. And that way I'm able to use or inherit the fonts from my theme. I'll save changes. I'll come back here now to my homepage that is opened up in the editor. I'll reload. All right, so now we have our headings using the style that we have applied in our editor. And now when you come over here to style, you see that it's not applying any default fonts or colors from the page builder. So everything over here is pulled up from the theme. Now when I come back here to my dashboard, I'm going to come to appearance, customize. I am going to come here to global, and you realize that under colors, we set that for our headings, they are all going to have our black color. If I change that to green, you see that now our headings are changing the color to the color that we apply over right here. And that color is applying to all the headings from H1 to H6. I want to leave it back to our black color that we set. And as well, if you look into the typography and you come here to the heading font, you see that we set up to use the Montserrat font, which is this here, 700 bold. If we change this to any other font, let me say Molalala, that's how our headings will all look like, but that's not what I want. Get back here, set to Montserrat, and default will be bold 700. How will our buttons look like? So I'm going to come here in the editor. I'll come to the widgets and drag a button widget, add it here. Now our button is having the style that we set up for the buttons in the theme style or in the theme customizer. When you come here to buttons, you will see that our button normal text color is white, and on hover it is white, and the default or normal background color is green, and on hover it will be orange, just like you see it right over here. Maybe one thing I would like to adjust is the font weight here. I can make it like a bold font. Come back here to the customizer font. We want to inherit the font family, which is for the body. And I think I'll also increase a bit the font size to match the same font size as the body text. That will be 18 pixels. And the font weight is going to be semi-bold 600. And I'll update that. Of course, if we want to see the preview right within here, the customizer, we can reload. So we can load up the updates from the page builder. My button is not showing up. I think that is because I didn't update here when I added the button. So when I come back here to the customizer, I'll reload after updating. Great, so here is our button. Now, the other thing that I noticed inside our Elementor page builder, you realize that our content is taking up the default content size from Elementor. We don't want this to happen because we want that our content is based on the theme content size or the Astra theme container size, which we already set up here under the container, global container. You see that we're using the container width of 1200 pixels. So how do we set that up in Elementor? Come back into the Elementor editor, come to this hamburger icon up here, come down to site settings, or select the site settings, come to the settings option, select the layout, and we're going to change the content width to 1200 pixels. Now our content is perfectly aligned with the header, which is already using the theme container size. So I'm going to say update. Now when I even reload right here in the customizer, you'll see that now this text will move to be aligned like the header that we already have, or the content width or the container width of our website, including the header. So we are not going to make any changes under the theme style, not even under the global colors and fonts, because everything has been set up using the theme we are using, which is the Astra theme. So in case we want to use any of the colors, we will have these colors being applied from Astra. So for example, when I exit the site settings and I come, let's say for this heading, and I want to change the heading color, I'll click here on the text color, and you realize that I have the theme colors that I set up showing up over here. Theme color 1, theme color 2, theme color 3, up to way down below here. So we don't have to set up anything under the global fonts and global colors inside Elementor, but we are going to be pulling in everything that we set up from Astra and we use it within Elementor. Now let's go and get started building our header using the Astra header builder. To get started to create our header using the Astra header builder, we're going to go straight back here to our customizer dashboard, and we're going to select header builder. Now the header builder has three parts: the above header, the middle header, and the below header section. In this tutorial, we are going to be using only the middle header, and that is the header that you are seeing right over here. So as you see here on our final website, we have the logo and the navigation and the button inside our header. Let's start by adding a logo. First, I'll close this page. You don't need it for now. So here we can add as many widgets as you want. But in this case, we already have a widget which is added by default when we install our Astra theme. I'll select a logo and I'll upload a logo to the media library. So I'll say upload. So I'll select my logo, open it up. I'll add the alt text, which is the same name as the logo. I'll skip cropping. I don't need to crop anything. I am going to choose the logo width to be 150 pixels. And in this case, I don't want to show an inline logo and the site title, so I'll disable that. I'll come right here to the site icon. So imagine the site icon being the icon that you always see right here in the browser tab. So we can create one, and I'll edit this image to become our site icon. Sometimes it's called the favicon. Select this, and I'll crop out the D in this case. That's it. So I'll add it as our site icon, and now it shows up right there. So I'll leave everything here on the default settings. Let me first publish and have a preview of our website. So I'll come here, I'll add a new tab, open up our draindoctors.online. Our site favicon or site icon should show up now on our website, and a logo. And yes, so far so good. So we now have our site title showing up on that desktop, but we don't want the name or the site name to be appearing. We only want the logo to appear. So under the site title visibility, we are going to disable that on the desktop, disable it on the tablet, and also disable it on the mobile. Now that will make our logo just to stand out without the site title, but it still does exist. So if I update, I'll reload my page here. You see that our site still exists, but it simply just doesn't show up here in the header. Great, now let's go and add a button to our navigation on the other side. On the right hand side of our header, I'll add a button widget. I'll let it to be at the very end, and you see it already now has our style that we applied in the customizer. So I'll select the button and come here to the button text, and I'll change this to book today. I'll link this to our contact page. So when I come here, open our contact page, because we want that when our website visitor clicks on the button, they will be taken straight to the contact page. I'll publish. Now, since this is going to be in the header, and our header is going to be having a background color of green, we want to change the default style of our button. In this case, only for this button that is going to appear in the header. So I'm going to select the button by clicking on the pencil icon, come to design, and I'm going to come here and change the background colors. So here the default background color is going to be the orange color, and on hover it's going to be a green, because this section of our heading is going to have a background color of green. Now let's start editing our navigation. So I'll come over here, select our navigation by clicking here on the pencil icon, or I can simply select here the widget for the primary menu, and I can start configuring that over right here. So I'm going to say under design, I'll scroll down below here and come to the text stroke link for the menu color. and the text is going to be white, which is normal or on normal, and on hover it's going to be having our lighter version of green, which we set up over here, and on active it's going to be having the white color. So I'm going to make a certain change to my menu font because I want it to stand out a little bit. So I'll come here to the menu font, I'll inherit from the body font, and the font weight in this case is going to be 700 bold. That's it for now. Now let's go and add a background to our menu right over here. Sorry that you're not seeing it because we made the menu items to be in white. Or for this case, let's first turn the text link to black so that you can have a preview of what we are actually trying to do. To begin with, there is no specific section in the Astra customizer where we can add a background only to this part of the header, like you see it right over here. Now that is going to call us to apply a specific CSS to this part of the header. And now I am going to share with you a little trick that I used so that I can only target this part of the header and I apply the color that I want. Of course, you can go ahead and try to inspect. So if I reload this page, I can come over here and say inspect page, and I can go ahead and try to look up for the class of this part of the header. Once I identify the class that I want to target for that part of the header, go into the customizer under the additional CSS section and add the CSS to customize the look of this section of our header. However, if you don't know how to use the browser inspector, I got a little trick for you that you can use. So I'm going to go back over here to my dashboard. I'll come here to plugins. I'll add a new plugin, which is called SiteOrigin CSS. It shows up over here, install, and then activate. Now the beauty with this plugin is that it enables you to have a visual CSS editor, and then later you can copy those classes and you're good to go. So I'm going to come over here to my SiteOrigin CSS editor, click on the CSS editor. I'm going to say preview. This will open me up in the preview editor for the page, or the home page in this case. And if I want to target this part of the header, which is this in this case, so I select that part of the editor or of the header, and now you see that already that class is selected down below here. So in case I want to target this class for my CSS, I already have that class. Now I can start adding my styling to this CSS class. So in this case, I want to add a background color. So under decoration, I can add my background color code. I'll come here, select the background color. I can simply paste my color code. There you are. So we also want to have a rounded border for this class over here. To do that, we can come back here to our editor, and then there is an option over here called border radius. So we want the border radius on the right hand side bottom and the left hand side bottom, and we want that border radius to be like a 30 or a 35. So that is for the left hand bottom and right hand bottom. So how are we actually able to position that our elements are in the middle of this background here? So to do that, we are going to come here to layout, and under layout we can play with the margin. So margin on the left hand side, select that part of the margin, and we can add like let me say a 200, and you see that now that distance reduces. And now we are going to apply padding on the right hand side because we want to increase some space here so that the button is not really on the border or on the edge of the background. So under pixels on the right hand side, we can add a 50, and you see that is kind of turning back to life. So I'm going to go back here now to the margin, select the left hand side option. So I'll make this a 250. This looks okay-ish. I hope it will work. So now how do I confirm these changes so that I can get this CSS and add it to my additional CSS section in Astra. So I'm going to say save, then OK. Now, once I say OK, this will take me back to the SiteOrigin CSS editor, which is right over here, and I can just simply copy this CSS code, copy. Now, remember, this has been generated in the process of us adding the styles that we wanted to apply to this part of the header. So now it gives us the CSS instead of you having to write it. And I'm going to now copy this, and I'll come here to I'm going to come here to the appearance customizer. I'll open up in the new tab, and there is a section down below here called Additional CSS, and here we can paste our CSS that we just generated using the SiteOrigin plugin. Come back here to plugins, leave this site, and I can delete or remove this plugin because I don't need it anymore. Now here, when I confirm and say publish, this additional CSS has been added to our header for this specific CSS class, and it will have the background color green for the menu items. So when I come back here, reload, or simply go back to my home page, you will see that we have that background on our menu items. Now let's go and change the color for the text on normal to white. So back to the header builder, primary menu, under design, come to the text link color, make it white. So I'll say publish, back here, reload, this should change. All looks good. We are further going to make our button to change to white instead of green on hover. So I'll come back here to our customizer, select our button. You can either use the pencil here or simply click over right there. So under design, the button text color is going to be white or normal. On hover, it is going to turn to black. And then the background is going to be orange, and on hover, it will turn to white. Okay, like this. And then we are going to also assign a border color. So it's going to be orange, and on hover, it's going to be white. We are going to add a border width of 2 pixels. So border width of 2 pixels. A border radius will be 25 pixels. And that's it all for now for our button. I'll simply come back here, publish. Let's go and have a preview. There the preview comes up, or our page loads up, and on hover, our button looks way better and stands out. Now I'm seeing something here like a border, so we want to remove this. I'm going to come back here to our customizer, come right back here to our header builder. So if you select our middle header right over here, and we come here to the background, you see that we have a white background for our header, and we also have a bottom border color, which is this here, and that's what is appearing right over here. But we don't want anything like that, so we are going to disable the bottom border size. So we make it 0. That way we don't have a bottom border. Like you see now, it has disappeared. And don't forget to make sure that our header height, we want it to be 100 pixels, not 80 pixels. I'll save changes. And for now, I'll say we are done customizing our header or creating a header for our WordPress website. Now, this header has been created using the Astra theme. Now, in the case whereby you want to add more widgets and more functionalities, you can just add over here, browse up for a widget that you want with the social icons and add them to your website, and you are good to go. Now we are going to go and create a footer for our website, which will look exactly like this here. So back here to our customizer. Remember, inside your theme customizer for Astra, which can be found under in the dashboard, appearance, customize. That will take you straight here, and then you can go to the footer builder. Now, by default, we have the copyright section added, and that is what you see right over here with text, and then also powered by Astra theme. but I'm going to show you how you can make changes to everything right over here. So in this case, we are going to use the middle footer, or the primary footer as they call it here, but we also have the above footer and the below footer. The below footer is the one that is holding the copyright information. Now in the primary footer, or the middle one, we are going to choose how many columns that we want to use. We want to use a 3-column footer. So the 2 columns are going to be in the same size, and the other column is going to be a little bit wider. So back here to our customizer, we are going to choose this layout because that is what we want to use to display our footer content. With it selected, we are now able to start adding widgets to our footer. But before we start adding content, we are going to come here to the design option, and we are going to add a background color to our footer. With our primary header selected, we have the background option here. Obviously, we don't want to have a top border, so we make that 0. We are going to use our lighter orange, but we are even going to make it more lighter. So I have a specific color code I want to use our footer background color to be a little bit lighter and transparent. Now back to our footer editor, we are going to add some widgets. So I'll start by adding the HTML widget, which is the HTML1 widget, and this is one that is going to hold our logo, and then later we'll add another widget. When you open up this widget, we want to align everything on the left hand side. Inside here, we'll delete the text and we'll add a media. So add media, I'll insert our logo, and I can resize this logo. I want it to be like 150 pixels. Now I'm going to add another widget right inside the first column. So this is going to be a social media widget. So with that widget selected, we want to align the labels on the left hand side, add different social media widgets or platforms. So I can say YouTube. So you'll see that that icon will be added. When I say add social icon, that's it. I can come to design and I can increase the icon size like that. I can go ahead and make changes to how the icons are looking like and customize everything, but in this case I'll leave them in black, or you can even use the official colors from those social media platforms. I want to leave them in black. So back here to our footer editor, or the primary footer editor, you can choose that your layouts for the elements are stacked. When you say they are stacked, they'll be in a vertical position. If you say inline, they'll be in the horizontal position like that. Now we're going to add our footer menu, which you see right over here. So I'll come back here to the customizer. That is in the second column. I'll add a footer menu, but we did not create a specific menu for the footer. So in case you have a specific menu for the footer that is pointing to different pages on your website, then you can come over here and configure the menu. So you can say secondary menu, off canvas menu, but we are interested in the footer menu. In this case, we will use the same menu as the main menu, and that is what will show up here. Great. So I want that my menu, when you look over here, I want that the colors are black, and on hover it's green. So here, select my menu widget, come to design. We are interested in the footer menu. Link text on normal is going to be black, and on hover it's going to be green. On active, let's make it orange. We don't have a background color for our menu items, and if we go back here to general settings, we want to make it stack as well, not inline. So we have it vertically aligned and we want it to be left aligned. Let's go and add our last widget, which is going to appear here, and it will be a request form. So I'll say add a new widget, come to the primary footer area, add another widget. So it's going to be a widget 1. Select that widget, and obviously we are going to use a block to add that request form here. But to be able to add that request form, we are going to use a form plugin that will integrate a block, and that's the block that will be able to display right over here. To do that, we're going to first of all save changes here, and we will go back to our plugins area and we'll install a contact form plugin. And yes, we will need this plugin throughout our website because we will also be having to collect emails, or in case someone wants to write to us, they'll be having to use a contact form to write to us, and so that we are able to get some feedback from our clients. So I'm going to say activate. By default, when you install the contact form plugin, it creates a default contact form that you can get started using within your WordPress website. In this case, I'm going to have to create my own custom forms, starting with a request form that we are going to generate right now. So I'm going to say add a new form. I'll name this to be Drain Doctor's request form. Drain. And this form is going to be a little bit custom because we don't want to collect everything. We only want to collect the email field, a text field. We have also the button to enable your website visitor to submit. So we are going to first of all remove the label or the field that asks them to enter their name. And then we are going to make some edit to this email field so that we are able to add a placeholder to ask them to enter in their email, like here, enter your email. So here to the form, we're going to add a placeholder. After email, we are going to add a space, name it placeholder, and in quotes, enter your email. And that's it. We are not going to include a label because that will take up more space in our footer, and also here we remove the label tags. All right, so we are also going to delete the subject field because we don't want to collect the subject in this case. We just want someone to send us a text, so a line of text in this case. So I'm going to remove that, and we don't want to collect the whole message. We only want to use another form field called text. In this case, it is echoing to the text area, which is this. So we are going to come here and say add a form default value, and the default value we're going to ask that our website visitor enters their request. So we'll say enter request, so that will be the placeholder. So default value, say enter your request here, and then we'll say insert the tag. That's it. Then I'm going to delete this other message field that was added by default. Now we have a fully functional and custom request form using the contact form plugin, and we are going to add this request form in the footer of our website. I'll save changes. The other thing you have to note is that the emails that are going to come from this form will be sent to the site admin email. And the site admin email is found under settings, and this is a site admin email. I highly recommend that you change this email if it is not using your professional email. And by professional or business email, I mean it should probably be, let me say, hamza@draindoctors.online. This way it will be easy for WordPress to send you emails straight from your WordPress website to your business or professional email that is associated with your website. However, if you use your Gmail or your other email that is not associated with your website, most times you may fall into issues where you're not receiving the emails, or when your clients are receiving errors whenever they try to send you an email. If you are using Cloudways, you are not able to create this kind of professional or business email, but you can do it using Hostinger. So when you come to hostinger.com, there is an option up here called emails, and here you can purchase or get an email plan. And for instance, here you can pay $3 a month for each individual email account, and this email account will be the one pointing to your domain name, which is, for example, hamza@draindoctors.com. It can be business@draindoctors.com, and that way you will be able to create that email, add it over here to your general settings as your business email, and whenever someone sends you that email, then you will be able to access it via the webmail and be able to respond to your clients as you wish. I hope that now makes sense. Anyway, now let's go back here to our contact form editor. And now once you have your professional business email created, you can add it over here by saying, for example, hamza@draindoctors.com, .online, or alternatively, if you have this email added as your admin email, you don't have to add this here custom. WordPress will automatically pull up that email from your admin settings and they'll be sending to it automatically using this tag here. Now, whenever you receive an email, it will show you where that email is coming from. In this case, the site title, the subject that you will see in your email, it will show the site title and the subject. But for this request form, we did not ask your website visitor to submit a subject, so we will not be having that field sent in the inbox. And generally, this is how you receive the email inside your inbox. But once you are done, make your changes, save, and when you look up over here, you'll have a special shortcode that you can use in your Elementor or even your Gutenberg website. But since the contact form plugin already created a Gutenberg block, we don't have to use a shortcode. Come back here to our customizer. I'm going to reload. I'll come straight here to our widget 1, which we actually wanted to use Gutenberg, and here I'm going to say form. Automatically our contact form 7 block will show up, and now we are able to select our Drain Doctors request form. There comes our request form showing up in the footer of our website. So I'll publish. Now when I go to our homepage just for preview, I'll reload this. Footer is showing up nice and neat. And also remember that this button is pulling up the style that we already set up in the Astra colors and typography settings section. Great. Now let's go and work on the very last footer, or the below footer. So back here to our customizer, I'm going to select our below footer. And inside our below footer, there is a widget that is called copyright already, and we can change the information that is appearing in the copyright. For example, there is a section that is called powered by the theme author. You can choose to delete this or leave it because that is what is echoing up the WordPress theme. I'll leave it because I love Astra and I like the fact that they enable me to build websites and have all these features. And I would love also that my website visitors get to know about Astra. But if you don't want that to appear, or you want to change it to your website name or to your company name, you can simply delete this here and then add powered by Drain Media Limited, and that is what will show up right over here. I'll undo this for now because I want to leave the Astra information, and then here it's bringing up the copyright symbol, and also it's bringing in the year dynamically, and also the site title dynamically. So if you change the site title and maybe you are in the new year 2024, these will change dynamically, so you don't have to come back and do anything. And under design, we are going to change the text color to our black, which is that over there. And for the footer background, I'm going to select the below footer settings, and I'm going to come to design. And when you look over here, we have a top border for our below footer, so I'll leave it as it is. So top border, leave it as it is, and the background is going to change our light orange that we set up for our first or primary footer. So I'm going to come here, I'll copy that color code that I used under design, background, copy this color code, come to the below footer, under design, paste my background custom color code, and that's it. I'll publish, and let me look at this on the live page. Great. And now if we compare the footer here and the footer here all looks the same, only that we increased on the size of our social media icons. I've just remembered that we did not link up our social media icons to the relevant social media platforms. So I can come back over here, select our social icons. Now, if you want to do that, you can come over here, click on the respective social media platform, and then add a URL to that social media platform. For example, my URL to my YouTube channel, I'll just come over here, copy that URL, come back here to my customizer, and then add the URL to my YouTube channel, and then I can say publish. When I come back here, reload the page. Now when someone comes to the YouTube icon, you see that they will be able to click and then be redirected to my YouTube page. Just like that. I feel like maybe we can add some hover colors on the icons. So I can come back here under design, icon color on hover. Yes, this looks much better. So I'll publish, come here, look at the preview. In fact, the actual page. Now when I hover over my icons, yeah, this looks much better. Before we close up our header and footer builders, let's look into how we can actually make sure that each and every part of our header and footer is responsive on different devices. So for the interest of time, I have already added a few settings for our responsiveness on the different devices, but I'm going to take you through what I actually did. The main area of interest in our case is this menu area here that has a green background, including the off canvas and how to style up the off canvas menu items, and obviously how this will also look like on the mobile device. Once you are into your mobile device responsive settings, let's start with the tablet. You are going to make sure that you make settings for your toggle button. So when you click on the toggle button, you can enable and say, I want to use this hamburger icon or this one to be as your toggle hamburger icon. In this case, I chose this and I decided to add a menu label. If you don't want that, you can disable that, and that's how it will look like. And furthermore, I had to go and change the color of the icon, including the menu text. So you can as well increase or decrease the size of both the icon and the text. Now, once that was done, I had to make changes to the off-canvas menu. The off-canvas menu is this menu that appears once you click on the hamburger icon or on the menu text. Obviously, if you want to point to a different menu, this is where you have to go. But in this case, I was only interested in the off-canvas menu, which is this here. But before we go into styling how our menu items and menu links are going to look like, there is the off-canvas itself. So you want this to be a drop-down. So I set that to be a drop-down, but you can make it to be a flyout or a full screen. And obviously the toggle target is going to be an icon, which is right over here. And we want to center our menu. If I say left, our off canvas will be left aligned. If we say center, or if we say right. So I want to keep it center. And under design here, you can set up how you want your off canvas to look like. But in our case, this wasn't necessary. But if we had like a flyout menu, this would be very important. Obviously, you have to go ahead and make changes on the mobile device as well. So in this case, that is how it looks like. And the styling and center aligning the content, just like you see here. Now, if we select the off canvas menu itself, right over here, you see that everything is blank. That is because it is inheriting the settings that I set up on the tablet device, just like you see over here. Now, in the case whereby you want to increase on the size of the menu items or the font, so you can go over there and make custom changes to those menu items based on the device. So in this case, this is on a tablet. If I go to the mobile, that will also change the mobile. Alternatively, you can even switch between devices from right over here. So the other part that we had to look into is our background over here to see that it actually displays really well on the different devices. You remember we created our CSS using the SiteOrigin CSS plugin, but that did not give us a responsive CSS code. So we had to add media queries for the different devices. So for example, the tablet and the mobile. And how do you do that? Going back here to our additional CSS option or feature, I had to add this code over here. This is a media query for the tablet devices with a minimum width of 481 pixels and maximum width of 767 pixels. For example, on the tablet device, I changed the border radius, and as well I made changes to the margin on the left hand side. If I remove these three, you'll see that now we have more space right over here, which is unnecessary. So that's why it is very important to make sure that you make the relevant changes on the different devices where your website will be viewed. Now the last CSS is for a media query or for the devices that are having a maximum width of 480 pixels. This CSS will apply to the mobile devices in that width range. Over right here, I maintain the border radius to 15 pixels, and obviously if you change this to like a 20, just look on the left hand side, there it changes, but I want to keep it at 15 pixels, and just the same like for the margin and the padding. Great, so don't worry about this code. I'll be sharing it with you in the description of this video, or I'll link up a page in the description of this video where you can go and copy and just apply this CSS in your designs in case you need it. Let's go and look into the footer builder. I'll go first to the desktop version, and I want you to realize that we had added our contact form here, but once we added it in the footer on a tablet device, it was actually overflowing outside the viewable area on the screen. So what I did was I had to select my footer. So with the tablet device selected, I had to go to design, and then I added a padding of 10 pixels on the right hand side. If I remove that, you see that our request form is on the edge of our footer on the right hand side. I simply added a 10 pixel padding so that it can look a little bit nice and neat. However, on the mobile device, everything looked nice and neat. Now, you may be wondering why we have this border up here. That is because we are using some widgets, and for some reason, the widget applies a top border here in the customizer, but it doesn't appear in the actual website or on the live page. So when I publish this, I'll come here to the live page, I reload, you will realize that that top border doesn't appear on the live page. That is how I could manage to build my header and my footer for this website using the Astra theme. And I hope you too, if you follow this tutorial, you'll be able to create something of this kind. Alternatively, we can choose that when someone is viewing our website on a tablet or mobile device, we don't display the background color. So how can we do that? We can add a CSS property that hides the background color and only shows the toggle button on mobile devices. In this case, if someone now goes to our tablet device, they only now see the toggle button. The same we can do for the mobile, just like this. We can go ahead and customize the color of the toggle button by clicking over here on the toggle button option. That will take us straight to the toggle button settings, then come to design, and here we can change the icon color to maybe a green or even an orange, but I prefer to make it a black in this case. So the question is, how do we target the mobile devices so that we can remove the background color, the border radius, and the margins? So to do that, we are going to go back here to our CSS. Inside the customizer, additional CSS, I have added this CSS snippet over here, which is targeting all devices with a maximum width of 767 pixels. And I targeted our CSS, which is this here. I applied a background color of white. Before it was a background color, which was our green color code. And we applied a border radius of 0. So we don't want to have any border radius on mobile devices. We don't want to have any margins on mobile devices. And we don't want to have any padding on mobile devices. Then I'll simply hit publish. I personally prefer to go this route in my design layout. The good thing is that everything still works nice and neat. Even when I go back to the tablet device, everything still works nice and neat. And even when you go back to the desktop device, all looks nice and neat. In case you want to use these code snippets, please, I'll be linking them right down in the description of this video, or I'll leave a special link where you can simply go and copy paste them into your customizer. Now let's go and get started building our page sections, starting with the home page. To get started building our page sections, we are first of all going to exit the customizer, and we're going to come here to Elementor. Let's first go to settings and we make up some basic settings. Let's go straight to features. We want to make sure that we have the Flexbox container enabled because that is what we are going to be using to build up our layouts. Once that is done, make sure that the DOM output is set to active, which is active by default, improved asset loading, which is active by default, improved CSS loading, and here all looks good. I'll save changes. That's it for now. I'll head straight to pages. I'll open up my home page with the Elementor page builder. Since we have the container already enabled, we are going to delete the first section we had added because it was a section, and we're going to add a container. So I'll add a container, but it's going to be a 2-column container. I'm going to remove the default padding. So I'll come here, advanced, remove the default padding, and I'll set the minimum height to be 85, viewport height. Then I'll start adding my content. So I'll start with adding a heading widget. So come here, add a heading widget. Next, I'm going to add another heading widget. I'll add another widget. In this case, they are going to be buttons. But to add 2 buttons below here, just like you see right over here on our final website, we're going to use a container that is going to hold these 2 buttons. Otherwise, in the container that we are using, it is running in the vertical direction. Now, if I add 2 buttons, they'll be in the vertical direction, but we want them to be in the horizontal direction. To do that, we're going to come to Elementor. We're going to come to the widgets area, grab a container. We want to make this container to run in the horizontal direction. Now we are going to grab our button widget, and we are going to duplicate this button. You see now we have 2 buttons in the horizontal direction. We are going to change the button text here to make an appointment, and we can redirect this person to our contact page, which we already created. Good. We can add an icon to our button. So by coming here to the icons library, we can look up for a clock icon. I think this works best for me, and let it be after. Let's select our button with our button that is going to have the click to call option or make a call. So this is going to have a green border. So I'm going to come here to Elementor, and I'm going to say make a call and add an icon, which is a phone icon. Insert, and we want it to be after. Then under style. So in this case, we are going to make that our text is going to have the green color, which is from our theme. So background type, we're going to make it transparent, and then we're going to add a border. So solid border, and it's going to be 2 pixels, and it will be in our color green. So I'll just set it up here even when it has already been picked up. All the other settings have already been applied from our theme style, including the border radius and the padding. So when now someone hovers over our button, we want it to appear in orange. So under hover, we will make the text color to be in white. So this over here. Background color is going to be our orange color. And the border color on hover, instead of setting up the background color, I set up the border color, which is also fine because we needed to add a border color of orange. But again, we want to add a background type or a background color of orange as well on hover. So when someone hovers over our text, awesome. There we are. We are done with our buttons. Now let's customize our headings. This heading is going to be the heading that is holding our text right here, saying, hello there, we are Drain Doctors. But when I reload this page, which is actually on our final website that we want to recreate, you see that we have an animation. Now, this animation is not available in Elementor, the free version. And as well, we cannot simply use a CSS within the free version of Elementor to achieve this animation. So the best way to achieve this animation is to use a third-party add-on, and that is going to be the premium add-ons for Elementor. If you've been watching my channel for some time now, you know that I'm a big fan of the premium add-ons for Elementor, and I highly recommend them. So I'm going to go back to my plugins area, but before I go there, I'm going to update, and I'll come here to my dashboard, come to plugins, and I'm going to straight go to add a new plugin. The new plugin I'm going to add, like I've already said, is going to be the premium add-ons for Elementor. It's a free plugin, unless if you decide to get the premium version of the premium add-ons for Elementor. Shows up over here. It has over 600,000 active installs. Install and activate. Good. So once you install the premium add-ons for Elementor, I always advise that you only activate the widgets that you want to use. But since we are still in the building process, we don't know exactly how many widgets we are going to be using in our website project. So what I advise is that once you are done with your web project, it is best that you come back here to the premium add-ons for Elementor and only leave the widgets that you have used in your pages active, and you deactivate the other widgets so that you can reduce the load on your server. I'm going to go back to my home page here. I'll reload. I'm going to come now here to the widgets area, and I'm going to look up for a dual heading widget. This is the dual heading widget from the premium add-ons for Elementor. I'll add it into my container, and I'm going to delete the first heading that I had added because I'm going to replace it with this dual heading widget. So I'm going to start by adding my text. Hello there. Again, I want to mention that once you add your styles to the theme style, like we did earlier on, all the widgets that you're going to add to your editor or to the Elementor page builder will adopt to the style that you set up in your theme style, provided that you deactivated the default settings from Elementor in the Elementor settings, just like I showed you at the start of this tutorial. Great. Now under hello there, we're going to add a second heading, which is going to be we are brain doctors, and that's it. And we want this to be an H1 heading, and we want it to be aligned on the left hand side. We want it to be in a block, not in line, so something of that sort. We are going to add a minimum mask effect, so I enable that, and we want to set the direction of our mask color to be to the bottom. That's it. Under under style, we're going to leave the default typography just as it is, everything here on normal. The text color here is going to be, our black color that we already set up, and then we're going to simply go down below here to the secondary heading or to the second heading. We will leave everything on our default settings because we already set up our typography for the H1s under the theme style. And for the text color here, we're going to change it to white. Not this, but this white. And we're going to change the background color or the background type to our orange. We are going to come back here and select our container holding our widgets, and we're going to make this to take up 60% of the width of the page. Looks like I still have padding on these containers. I'll remove that padding. Now let's add our subheading, and in this case we're going to use the normal heading widget from Elementor. I'll duplicate this, add the content. We want this to be in an H5 or have the H5 HTML tag. Then we are going to come here to style. Under typography, we want to make sure that the line height is good enough for this to be readable. So I'm going to come here to line height. I'll change this to be an EM and make it 1.8. Not only that, I want to transform the style here to capitalize. So the very last widget, which is also going to be a heading widget, I'm going to change this to a paragraph as our HTML tag. I'll add the text that we want to belong to that widget. Under style, we are going to come to the text color here, and we want to leave that to the default color, which is our theme color. So I really don't even have to change that because it's already pointing to the color that I want. And for our typography, I'm going to come here, change the weight to normal, and change the line height to 1.8. And this should be EM, so it looks a little bit neater than how it is now. Looks great. I'm going to come to the very last container here. I'll also remove the padding so we have everything aligned right from the start here. So you see, this is looking nice and neat. I am going to select my container and I'll come right over here to the layout, and we want to set the gap in between elements to be 40 because we want to add or to increase more spacing in between these elements. And then we want to make sure that the elements are justified or aligned to the center or the vertical center, like this. Now let's add our image. So we're going to come to the widgets, look up for the image widget, which is from Elementor, add it over right there. I'll make it to be a full-size image. I'll come here to upload my image. So come to the media library, come to my images, upload it to my media library. I'll copy and I'll add the alt text or the tag. Now I think most of you are wondering how and where I got my images. These are AI generated images, and I used a tool called lexica.art, which is an AI image generator. And the beauty with lexica.ai is that you can upload an image that you want it to mimic to make for you different AI generations of that image to look like similar in that case. So that's what I did. I simply uploaded my image here, and then it generated for me different images based on the image that I uploaded. So this is one of the images. So it is of a construction worker or like a plumber or someone who is into the maintenance works. And when I saw such images, I was like, well, this is what I need. Have it selected. I'm going to come here to style. I'm going to make the maximum width to be only 85%. And then we're going to come and add a border radius because we want it to have rounded borders, just like you see right over here. So I'll come here to border radius. I'll make this 35 all over. Looks nice and neat already. With my image selected, I want it to be aligned on the right hand side. I'm going to select my container holding the image, and I want this to be aligned in the center or the vertical center. Now let me say publish, and then we'll go and preview our page. So preview. Awesome. I like what I'm seeing. And now what we are going to do is to add, some kind of spices to our image here so that we have it kind of floating and have that kind of animation like you see right over here. To be able to add that floating animation to our image, we are again going to take advantage of our premium add-ons for Elementor add-on, because hey, it also comes with the option or the feature to add floating effects to our widgets. So with the image widget selected, I'll come to advanced. I'm going to go down below here. There is an option called floating effects by the premium add-ons for Elementor. Click over there, enable floating effects. We're going to come under motion, and we are going to activate the translate effect. So we are going to make this to be from 6 or 7, and then it's going to go to 17. So something like that. And then on the y-axis, we are going to make it to be 18 and also a 7. Under the general settings, I'll leave the direction to be alternate, and then we'll leave it to be looped, and easing will be ease in out sign. That's it for now. I'll update. Now we'll go back to our home page and we have a look at our page. Awesome. There we go. We have our image having the floating effect applied at the moment. Maybe one thing that I didn't show you is how we can add the option that when someone clicks on this button, their phone calling app will open up automatically and they'll be able to make a phone call to you. Alternatively, if they are using a computer just like this, the most appropriate app will open up to trigger a phone call on the computer. So how do we enable that? So to do that, we are going to come back here. We select our button that has make a call, come to link, and here we are simply going to add tell, and then we are going to add the phone number. I'll update, come here to the preview. Now when I click on make a call, automatically you see that my computer is prompting FaceTime to open up so that I can make this phone call from my computer. If your website visitor is using their mobile phone, then their phone app will open up so that they can make you a phone call. Just make sure that you add the tell and then the colons, and then add the plus and the country code and the number of your office or your business. Let's go and look into the responsive settings of our first hero section. Come to responsive mode. First of all, go to the tablet device. I am going to reduce on the vertical height or the viewport height. I'll make it a 60%. I'll add some padding on the right and left hand side. I'll switch this to percentages, and on the right hand side I'll make it 5%, and left hand side I'll make it 5% as well. And for our container holding the buttons, because we want them to look a little bit better than this, instead of adjusting the padding and the text size, I'm going to select this container holding the buttons, come to layout, and I'm going to come here and change the container direction to vertical only on the tablet device. We can do the same for the mobile. Let's start from the top. I'll select the container. I'll make sure that I have the percentage sign selected. Unlink the paddings. At the top, I'll add a padding of 5%. I think a 10 would look better. And on the right hand side, I'll add a 5. Left bottom, I'll add a 10 as well. And left hand side, I'll add a 5. Okay, and then I'm going to select the inner container, and instead of having the gap between elements to be 40, I'll make this to be a 20, and I'm going to add padding just down below here. So I'm going to select this container, come to advanced, unlink the values, I'll select the percentage sign. At the bottom, I'll add a padding of 5, something like that. I'll select my image, and I'm going to position it on the mobile device to be in the center. Now if I go back to the tablet device, this still looks good, and if I go back to the desktop device, everything looks good right over here. So I'm done setting up the mobile responsiveness of my first hero section on my homepage. Now I'm going to go ahead and start creating my second hero section, which is this over here, having the services and all that stuff. Welcome back to this other part of our tutorial. We are going to be creating our services section, just like you see down below here. So if I reload, you realize that it has an animation on the right hand column. We have a title on the left hand side and an image right over here. So how do we get started? We are going to go back here to our home page, and we will add a new container. So this container is going to be a 2-column container. We'll remove the padding on the parent container. Next, we're going to add our title in the left hand side container. It's going to be services. We will add a text widget, which is going to hold our description over there. We will add our text. There comes my text. We'll add our image widget. So bring our image widget right over there. This will be full size, and we're going to add our image, which is this image over here of a plumber fixing some toilet issues. So come back here, go to our media library. We're going to upload that image, add our image. Make sure that you always add the alt text for your images, and they should be, appropriate or descriptive in a nature that they describe what is contained in the image, because search engines and screen readers use that information to understand what is the image all about. So we are going to select our image, come to style, and we are going to add our border radius. So in this case, it's supposed to be 35 pixels. I'll select my first container and I'm going to make this to be 33.33. Okay, that's the width of that container. Now I'll add my icon boxes that have my services listed. So I'll come right over here, look up for the icon box widget, add it to our container. We want the icon position to be on the left hand side. I'll start adding content to my icon box. So the title, and also you'll have to add content to the description of that service. We are going to leave the HTML title tag to be h3. Now we'll go ahead and look up for the icon to replace this. I'll come here to the icon option and look up for the arrow icon. Obviously, you can upload your own custom icons, but in this case, I'll use this from Elementor. Right, so now what I'm going to do is to add a background on this icon box. To do that, with it selected, I'll come to Advanced, come to Background type. We're going to add a solid color, and this is going to be our theme color 3. Now you see that the text disappears. That is because it is in the same color as the background. So I'll come back here to our icon. I'm going to change the primary color of the icon to our white color content, and as well we are going to change the color of our content title to our white color. The same for the description. Once that is done, we are going to come here to the advanced option and we are going to add padding. We'll be in pixels and we'll make it 30. Padding, top, bottom, left and right. Don't forget to come down below here to the border option and make changes to the border radius. We want it to be 35. So in this case, we also want to have our icon centered right over here with the icon box still selected. Under style, content, we want to change the content vertical alignment to middle. Now that will move all our content within this icon box to be in the middle, including the icon itself. Now what I'm going to do is to duplicate this icon box, duplicate once more and duplicate the very last time because I have 4 services to showcase. Now I'll just simply come and make changes to the title, the description, and the icon. I'll do that real quick. Once I'm done, I shouldn't forget to add my background type. So with our container selected, I'll come to style, come right down here to the background type, choose the gradient option, and here I'll choose my first gradient color. Then the second color is also going to be our green color. So I'm going to change the type of the gradient to be radial, and it's going to be center left, not top left, but center left. And that's it for now. So you see that we need to work on our padding and positioning of our content right within our container. So since this is taking up 33.33%, the first container, this is supposed now to take up 66.66%, and we are going to add some padding right over here with this container still selected. Under advanced, I am going to unlink the padding values and I'll select the percentage option, and on the left hand side I'm going to add a 10% padding, something like that. Now we want to also add some padding to the top and bottom of our container. So we are going to select the parent container. So if you are unable to select it here, just grab your navigator. Here it will show up. So we have the parent container. I'll come to advanced and I'll add a 5% at the top. So 5 top and 5 bottom. Now I'll have to change the color of our title from the default color for the headings to our white color. The same applies to this text editor widget. Looks great. So we can preview for now. And there is our services widget. Looks great. Now we are going to add our animation. So we are going to come right over here to our container, select the icon box widget, come to advanced. Under motion effects, we are going to add a fade in up animation like that. we apply the same animation to all other info box widgets. Great, I'll update. I'll go ahead and check my preview. Awesome, there it shows up. Now let's work on the responsive settings of our container. I'll come here to the responsive mode. I'll start with the tablet. So for the tablet, I have added a top and bottom padding of 10%, top here and the bottom, and the right hand side, 5%, right? And also on the left hand side. Then I also reduced on the inner padding for the second container from 10 to 5%. Now to the mobile device. In the first container, I'm going to add padding at the bottom, right over here under the image. So we are going to say percentage and link everything. Bottom, we add a 5%. In fact, a 10 will look better. Something like that. Then our services show up. And as well, I'm going to add a padding top and bottom of 10%. So, and link the values. Top and bottom will be, let me say 15% and 15%, right 5 and left 5. I will also remove the padding in the second container on the left hand side. So we have the image aligned properly well with the icon box widgets. Looks great now. That's it. I'll update. Let's look at the preview. Looks great on the desktop and also on the mobile, since we have already now set that up. Next is going to be us creating our second container, or our third container in this case, which includes our testimonials. But before, I always advise that you name your containers so that it is easy for you to follow up in case you want to rectify issues. So this is going to be our services container. I'll add the other container, which is going to be our testimonials. We will select one with a vertical direction, and we are going to add another container right inside that container. And in this case, we are also going to add a title, but the title is going to be outside the second container, this one. So in our parent container, so this, I'll name it as testimonials. We have a heading widget and then a container within that container. So the heading widget is going to have the text of what our clients say. It will be an H2 and center aligned. Now in the next container within the parent container, we are going to have two containers. So right here, I am going to come to widgets, add a container, and I'll duplicate this container. And when I select the first parent container inside that child container, I want to change the direction to horizontal like this. So you see the two inner containers that I added. I'll skip those and I'll go to the parent container for those containers. I'll come to advanced and I'll remove the padding. Okay, now with the second container selected, we are going to come here to our widgets and grab up our image widget. We'll set the image size to full and we are going to add an image right over there. So come to files, we'll upload a file, we'll add our image, insert our media, come to style, we're going to add a border radius. It's going to be 35 and we are going to increase on the size of the second container. So we make the first one a 30% and the other one will take up the rest, which will be 70% in this case. I am going to remove the gap between the containers. So I am going to select the parent container right here and come here to layout, gap between elements, we'll make it 0. So we don't have that gap over here. Now I'll start adding my testimonials. Come to widgets, look up for our icon box widget. In fact, in this case, let's use image box widget. Still comes in the free version of Elementor. And here is where we are going to, first of all, add the image of the person who wrote the testimonial. First was Mary S. The title is going to be Mary S, which is the name in this case, and the testimonial that they wrote. There comes the testimonial. Now we are going to come over here to the image position and change that to left. And the title HTML tag will stay as H3. Now under style, we're going to come here to content and we're going to change the alignment to be middle. So this image comes right over here. Now under advanced, let's add a background type to our testimonial. It's going to be our green, and under border, we're going to add a border radius, which is going to be 35. Now let's go back up here to layout and we add a padding. So we are going to add padding in percentages. So select the percentage value and link the boxes. And for the top, we are going to add a 5%. Right, we are going to add a 7. Bottom will add a 5. and left we'll add a 7. Before we forget, we also want to add a border radius to our image here. So under style, border radius for the image, that will be a 25 pixel, just like that. And then for the content, we are going to change that to a white color. So title will be white, select from our theme colors. Same for the description, select from our theme colors. Now we are going to position our icon box to be kind of floating on top of the other image box widget. So to do that, we are going to select the image box and we are going to come here to the advanced option, unlink the values, and we are going to select the percentage option. And on the right hand side, we are going to add 100 negative margin. Now we are going to move this image box to be on top of our image widget right here. So to do that, we are going to come here to the Z index option and we add a Z index of 10. There we are. Now we are going to add a floating effect on this animation, just like this over here. To do that, still under our advanced options, under floating effects, we are going to enable. Remember, this effect or this feature is brought in by the premium add-ons for Elementor. We are going to enable the translate effect and we are going to just make it like a 16 to and an 11 from. Can even be like a 12, something like that. Same for the y-axis. So I'll do 14 and an 8. This is okay. I'll leave everything here on the default settings. And what I'm going to do now is update, so we can have a preview. There is our testimonial. Now we want our testimonials to be positioned right at the bottom of this container where they are. To do that, we are going to come back here to our editor, select this container, and we are going to position that the content will be justified to the end. But for now, I want to duplicate this testimonial and add another testimonial. So with it duplicated, I'll come now here, select and upload an image for the author of the second testimonial. I can give this guy a name of like, let me say Derek, then also add his testimonial. By the way, I have to mention that all content for this website was generated using ChatGPT. So I think you guys can also be taking advantage of that in your web design, but make sure that you personalize the content to actually fit and rhyme with your audience and what the purpose of your website is for. So now I'm going to add a background color to this testimonial. With it selected, come under advanced, and a background, instead of it being green, we are going to change that to our orange color. I'll update. Let's go and preview. Awesome. There we are. Now when we look on our other testimonial, you see that we have, some padding, at the top and the bottom. So that is what we are remaining with. I'm going to come back here to our editor. First of all, I want that this testimonial container is having a fixed height. So in this case, I'm going to come here to the minimum height. I set that to a viewport height of 75. With our testimonials container selected, come to advanced, unlink the padding values, select the percentage option, add the top 5% padding and a bottom 5% padding. Now I am going to update our preview, and there are our testimonials. So instead of having our testimonials aligned at the bottom or at the top, I'm going to make them aligned at the center of our container vertically. So instead of having it like this or at the start, we'll align it at the center. I'll update. And now let's have a preview of that. Okay, this looks much better. Now we are going to go and look into the responsive settings of our testimonials section. I'll start with the tablet mode. So with my container selected, I'll add a padding of 10% at the top, right 5 and bottom 10 and left 5 to have something like this. And for the second container that contains our image, we'll make sure that the image is aligned at the center. Now we can go ahead and select our image box widget. I'll come to padding, unlink the values. I'll add a padding of 10 all over, and also the same for the second testimonial, 10% all over. This looks fine for now. Okay, so once I'm done with that, I'm going to go straight to the mobile device. Here to start with, I'll add padding to the container, top and bottom. So I'll unlink the values. Then I'll add a 15 at the top, 15 at the bottom. Right will be a 5 and left will be a 5. We will select our image box widgets and we are going to remove the negative margin on the mobile device. Same for the second one, and there you go. Now we can choose to hide the image right over here so that it doesn't appear in our mobile device or on your mobile device when someone is viewing the testimonial section, because hey, it's not kind of needed in this case. It's up to you to choose that, but in case you want to hide it, Can select the image, come to advanced, under responsive, we can say hide this on mobile. Great. I'll update and let's go and have a preview. Congratulations on creating your testimonials section for your website or for your client's website. So far, I'm super happy how far we have come. In the next section, we will be creating our frequently asked section, including our call to action, and we will be done with the homepage. See you in the next chapter. In this chapter, let's look into how we can create our FAQs section. So back here to our homepage, I'll exit the responsive mode. Now you realize that our FAQ section is using the same layout as our services. So I'm going to duplicate the container holding our services. With it duplicated, I'm going to drag it down below here under testimonials. I'll rename it to FAQs. I'll start by changing the background color. So under style, background color is going to be a solid one and it's going to be our lighter orange. Here we are, but I'll make it even more transparent, something like that. I'm going to select my title, change this to FAQs, and under style, I'll change that back to our default color for the titles. I'll come here to the description, add the description right over there. Under style, I'll set that back to our default color. I'll delete the image. We don't need it in this case. And I'll also delete the icon boxes. I'll add a toggle widget, bring a toggle widget, drag it over there. And I'll set that the toggle widget is going to have a background color of white. Have it selected. Under advanced, give it a background color of white. And for the padding under layout, change this to percentages, give it a padding of 5%. We are going to go under border and we are going to give it a border radius of 35. That is for the toggle widget as a whole. Now, let's go and start adding content for our FAQ section. So with the toggle widget selected, we're going to add the question goes over here in the title, whereas the answer goes right over here in the description. I'll add my question and also add my answer. Now I'll repeat the same process for all the tabs. To add an item, you just simply come over here, say add an item, and repeat the same process all the way throughout. In this case, I'm going to pause this video and I'll add all the content, then I'll come back later. We are going to add a new container. It's going to be in the horizontal direction. We'll add 2 other containers. So 1 container and 2 containers inside that container that we just added. So duplicate with the other container that is holding the 2 containers selected. We're going to change that layout to be in the horizontal direction. Now we are going to add our text title and another widget which is going to contain the content. And then we are going to add another one which is going to be our button. So we customize this for now. This is going to be H3. And for the button, it's going to be call us now or call us today in this case. The link is going to be one that prompts someone to actually make a phone call. So add tell, add the country code, add the phone number. That's it. With a container selected that is holding the 2 other containers. But first, let me rename this container, the main container, which is a call to action. So the one that is holding the 2 other containers with it selected, first of all, we are going to remove the padding, everything 0. And then we are going to come to style, background type, we are going to add an image. So there comes my image and it's going to be a full image. It's going to be positioned center left, attachment, default, repeat, no repeat, size is going to be cover. Under overlay color, we're going to add an overlay background. First color is going to be a white color. Second color will be also a white color, and this is going to be totally transparent. The first color location will be a 55 and the second color location will be a 47. We change the gradient to maybe a 70 or 77, something like that. The opacity will also be a 77. Let me change the angle to 77 and see how that looks like. We're going to go to the border because we want to add a border to our image. So border radius is going to be 35. With that container selected, the container that is holding the 2 other containers, so select it, come to layout, come to minimum height, change that to VH and give it a 55 VH. I'll select my first inner container that is holding the text, so have it selected and I'm going to make sure that the content is justified to be in the center. I'll come to advanced padding, change to percentage, and add a padding of 5% all over. I'll select the parent container, which is this over here. Come to advanced, under padding, select percentage, and unlink the values, add a padding of 5% top and 5% bottom. I'm going to come to the style. I'm going to add a background color to that container, which is going to be a green. Looks nice and neat so far. Now what I'm going to do is update and preview. Scroll way down to our call to action. There we go. Looks nice and neat. Now we have to position this container here to be somewhat in the middle of the two sections. How do we do that? Back to our home page in the editor. We will select the parent container that is holding the two containers, one with the text and one which is empty. With that selected, we're going to come here to the advanced option, and we're going to come to the margin values, change that to percentage, unlink the values, and at the top we're going to add a 20% margin but negative. There we go. Update. Let's look at the preview. Scroll way down here, and here our call to action section shows up. Looks nice and neat. The other thing we are going to add is a floating effect for this section, or for this container in this case. Under advanced motion effects, animation, floating up. Nope, not this, but the container itself. Container, under advanced motion effects, animation, floating up. That's it. I think I don't like how it looks like when it floats in, so I think I'll ignore the floating effect. Now let's go into the responsive mode to make sure that everything looks nice and neat. With it selected, come to mobile. I'll select the parent container. Under advanced, unlink the padding values, and also unlink the margin values. In this case, first of all, I'm going to add padding to the left and right side. So left padding 5% and right padding 5%, and also padding 5% at the bottom. And for the top, I am going to add the padding of 10% in this case, and link the values 10% at the top. Maybe a 15 would look better. Yes, even better. Now let's go to the mobile device. First of all, let's position our image. So with the container that is holding the image selected, come to style, and remember that Elementor introduced a new feature whereby we can upload a custom image for the mobile device, but also we can position that image differently on mobile devices, and the changes won't affect the other devices. So I want to move in a little bit our lady to position her just somewhere there. I'll want to hide the second container. So under advanced, responsive, hide that on mobile, and for the first container selected that is holding the title, we are going to add some padding at the top. So unlink the values. Padding top, I'll make it a 10, and right hand side will be a 10 as well, and left hand side will be a 10, and I think I can make it a 10 all over. So okay, after adding padding, it looks like our image is even hiding further. With our container selected that is holding the title and the text, come to layout. We may want to add more padding at the top. So I'll make this a 15 and also the bottom a 15. I'm curious to look at this on the actual mobile device to see how it looks like. Anyway, for now, so far so good. I will update and I'll go look at the preview, whether anything has changed on the desktop. If nothing, then we are good to go. So FAQ, and finally our call to action. So congratulations on creating your homepage content, layout, and design. So far so now, I'm contented by what we are able to pull off and how far we have come. In the next chapter of this video, we are going to create our design and layout for the about page, services page, and then the contact. And finally, we will go into creating content for our blog posts. See you in the next chapter. Before we go into creating sections for our pages or our other pages, let's add this floating social icon widget right over here. And this is only going to be on our homepage simply because we are not able to assign this to be a global widget because we're using the free version of Elementor. But in the pro version of Elementor, we can even assign this to be a global widget so that it can appear on all other pages on our website. However, that shouldn't stop you from just copying the same widget and add it to other pages. so that it can be added as a floating widget manually. Now let's do it for our homepage. I'll come to the main hero, come over here to the widgets, look up for the social icons. You can paste it wherever you want, so I'll add it there. Now I'll start with styling. First of all, I want only 3 social platforms: Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. If you want to add more, you can come over here, select an icon from the icons library. Let me say for Instagram in this case, go ahead and add it. You can choose to use our official color or a custom color, or ideally we can do that setting generally from the style and say we only want to use a custom color. And in this case, the primary color is going to be a transparent color, which we already have set here, and then the secondary color is going to be our white color. On hover, we will not have a primary color, but on secondary color is going to be our light green. Now we'll go to the advanced settings, come to background type, it's going to be our green color. When I come back here to the content, we can assign how many columns we want. We want only 1 column, just like that. Now, how do we position these icons to be floating? Right over here. So we're going to come back here to the advanced option. We're going to come to position. We're going to set it to be fixed. Now that is going to move our icons to be right over here. Now we can set that they are going to be horizontally aligned to the left hand side and vertically aligned to the top. And it's going to be at this position of 268 pixels. Now we're going to add a rounded border and padding to our icons. So I'll start with the padding. That's going to be 10% all over, percentage 10%. And for the border, we are going to have a rounded border only to this edge and this edge over here. I'll unlink, I'll leave it as pixels. Border radius right is going to be 10 and bottom is going to be a 10. Looks good so far. So even now when I scroll, you realize that we have our floating social icons. But in our case, I want to leave it to only 3 social platforms. So I'll come back to content, remove Instagram. And if I want to link to the individual social media platform, I just simply have to paste the link over here to my handle. The same for Twitter and for YouTube. For instance, if I want to add the one for YouTube, I'll go to my YouTube channel, grab the URL, come over here, paste the URL, and I'm good to go. So I can update, but make sure that you have these links opening up in a new window. So by default, Elementor sets it to be opening up in a new window. So now to our homepage, you realize that we have our floating social media icons showing up. And if now someone clicks over here on the YouTube icon, it opens up in a new tab and takes them to my YouTube channel. Now let's go into creating other page sections for our website, starting with the About page. We'll now exit the editor. I'll go open up my pages, open my About page, or say edit. Then I'll edit with Elementor. As you can see over here on our live website, when I go to the About page, this is how it looks like. Now, we are going to change our About page from this to this right here. So to start with, inside the editor, we're going to add a new container. We will add in the vertical direction in this case. I'll remove the padding, so unlink everything. I'll come right over here, grab my title widget. That will be in H2. We'll add another title widget in this case, and that will be in H4. So change this to H4, and then I'll add my content. I'll come to the style, and under typography, I'll reduce the weight to 400 normal. Looks much better. Now I'll add my image widget, just like you see right over here. So grab my image widget, add it into the container. I'll set the size to be full size and come here to upload images. Look up for our image, this right here. Insert the image. Under style, I'll come to the border radius, give it 35 pixels. That's it. Come to advanced floating effects. I'll apply the floating effect, enable the translate effect, and just make it 11 and 7 and a 12. Same for the y-axis, 7 and a 12. I'll leave all the rest on the default settings and I'll update. Let's go and preview our About page. Looks good so far. I'm going to add padding. Select the container under advanced padding, percentages. I'll unlink and add top 5% and bottom 5%. Let's go and add our services container. To add our services container, If I come back here to the home page and compare that home page with this services container, there is something similar. So what I'm going to do is to copy the services container on the home page and make these changes on the icon boxes. I'm going to come back here to pages, all pages. I'll edit my home page with Elementor or open up with Elementor. I'll copy my services container. I'll paste it right over here. I'm going to remove the background color. But before I remove the background color, let me change the text color here and text color here. I'll now remove my background color or so style, make it to be a solid color, and it's going to be our white color. I am going to add a container right inside the second container here, and I'm going to duplicate this container. Now, I will drag the first icon box into the first container and drag the second icon box into the first container as well. Select the first container, change the direction to horizontal. I'm going to select the icon box and change the icon position to top. Same for this icon position to top. I'll select the first container, first icon box, come to advanced instead, background, change the background color to our green. Let's do the same for the other icon box, but in this case it's going to be our orange color for the background color, orange. I'll do the same for the last two icon boxes here, move them into the second container, select the container, change its orientation to horizontal, select the icon box, change the icon to top, same for the other. And now we are going to change the color under advanced, background, color. We are going to make this to be green, and the other icon box, advanced, background, color, orange. Now let's look into the responsive mode for these icon boxes. Okay, so here I can choose to change the layout. So in this case, on the tablet, I can say we want this to be in the vertical direction. Same for the other, vertical direction. Let's go to the mobile device. This already looks nice and neat, but we did not do anything for our first hero section. So we are going to select the About Hero section. We're going to make sure that we have enough padding, top, right, left, and bottom. So a 10, I'll make a 5 on the right hand side and left. And we are going to, adjust the size of the text right over here. So this will be something like 14 pixels, would look fine. And we can increase on the line height. Let me say 1.8 em. So it's a bit easier to read. Okay, now let's go back to the tablet. Let's look at the first hero. We can do the same thing. Percentages. Top will give it a 10% for tablet. Right 5, bottom 10, left 5. And come here, select the line height under typography. 1.5 would look okay. That's H2, and this is H2 as well. Okay, this looks nice and neat. Now we'll exit the responsive mode and let's go and work on the second container. The second section on our About page is the call to action. So I'll just come back here to our already created call to action section on our home page and copy this, come to our About page and paste it right over there. Now we are going to come back up here to our services container under advanced, give it a bottom padding of 15%, and there we go. Save changes, and then we look at the preview. That's for our About page, our image, our services, and our call to action. Everything looks nice and neat and responsive. Now let's go and create our services page. As you can see over here, it's an empty page, and we want to transform this page to a page like this. All right, I'll leave my two other pages open, the About page and the home page, because we are going to need them. And I'm going to come here to our pages and open up our services page, or edit our services page. I'll edit with Elementor. First of all, as you can see over here on our services page, the first hero section looks just the same like our about page. So I'll just come back here to our about page and copy the first hero section. Copy. Come to our Elementor editor for the services page. Paste our hero section. Now we make changes to the content to reflect what should appear on the services. That's good. And also make changes to this text over here to reflect what should appear on your services page. Now I'm going to come over here to the image, change this image, upload an image from the media library. There we go. Insert our image on the services page. Now this image will automatically have the translate effect because it was already applied on this section in the about page. And when you look on our final services page, after that we have the services themselves. Now this will just now prompt us to just go and copy the services section from the about page because we already created it, which is here. So I'll come, copy this, come to the services page, in the editor, paste it. Then we are going to add the very last section, and that section should be our testimonials. And remember, we already created the testimonials section as well as the call to action here. So I'll just come here to my home page, copy my testimonials section, copy this, come to the services page, paste. I'll come back to the home page again, copy our call to action, which is that, copy, come back to the services page and paste our call to action. Awesome. Now I'm going to come back here at the top, select my testimonial section and advanced, add padding of 15 at the bottom, that is 15%, so that this container doesn't overlap into the testimonials. And now I'll select this services page and remove the bottom padding of 15% to only 5%. So everything should be looking nice and neat. Now let's look into the responsive mode, tablet, mobile. All looks good because we have already worked on everything from the other pages. Now I'll update this and exit the services page. So let's look at the preview. That is the services page preview. Imagine from this blank page to this in just a few minutes. In the next chapter of this video, we'll be creating our contact page. In this part of our tutorial, we are going to create our contact page from something like this to what you see over right here. Let's get started. Back into our dashboard pages, we have our contact page here. Edit it. I'll open that up with the Elementor editor. So when you look over here on the contact page we want to create, we have this hero section, and we have already created this hero section on this page here. So that is on our about page. What I'm going to do is just come back over here, copy that hero section, come to our contact page in the Elementor editor, paste that hero section, change the content here, change that, and also the description. Now I'm going to edit or change the image, come to upload the media file. There we go. Insert the image. Great. Now when you come over here on our final website, you realize that we have a container that is somehow similar to one of our previous containers that we have already created. So like for the services container, and one here on our hero page, which is the FAQs container. Copy this container, come to our contact page, paste that container. Now I'll make the necessary edits to look and feel just like our container right over here. I'll add my content, but before that, let me first change the background color to a color of my choice. So I'll come here to green, pick our transparent green, which is that, change this to write to us, the title, and Under the description, add some details about your company. Okay, you add your contact details. You can bold some parts of the text. So to add our contact form, first of all, we have to create that contact form. Remember, we have already installed the contact form plugin, which is a free WordPress plugin, which is this over here. And we have already created our first contact form, or request form in this case. So when I come here to contact forms, you see that we have, a Drain Doctor's request form. I can create another one and give it the name that I want. But in this case, let me use the default contact form that comes already with the Contact Form 7 plugin. So I'm going to come back here to our Elementor website, and I'm going to come here and look up for the forms widget, which comes with the premium add-ons for Elementor. So Contact Form 7 widget, drop it over there. I'll come over here to the drop down, select the contact form 1, and there we go. So we can go ahead and we add the styling to our form fields. So in this case, the form fields, I'm going to add under style, we're going to add a border radius. Let me make it like a 15. 15 looks good. You can even make it a 20, and that will apply to all the form fields in this case. You can even go ahead and make custom, changes to the button, just like you see over here. You can apply different typography and padding to the button. But if I come back here to the content under button, I would want to make that this button is taking up 100% of the width. So something like that. And you see that it is already adopting to the style that we already set up on our website. Now I'm going to select the container to the advanced option and link everything. Select the percentage value, and on the left hand side I'm going to add a 5% padding. And under style, we are going to enable the focus border color in this case, and we are going to make it green so that when someone clicks on any of these fields, it will turn to green, just like you see now. The same here. We would also like to reduce on the height of the message box. Under content fields, height of the text area, we can make that to actually have, a specific height. Let me make it like 200 pixels. That is on the desktop, but we can go as well and make adjustments to it on the respective mobile device. Just like you see, now I go to the mobile. That still looks good. Now, there is one thing that I actually forgot to mention, and it's very vital for your search engine optimization side of things. When you add your toggle widget here that has your FAQ or your FAQs, I advise that you add the FAQ schema, which will enable the search engine to understand this as an FAQ section on your website. So I'll go ahead and apply the same change right here on the home page. Select that widget, enable it to be as an FAQ schema, update. The same for all the other sections of our website where we added it. And that's it all for now. Now let's go and add a map to our contact page. I'll come back here to the editor, go to widgets, look up for the map. I'll drag the map widget right inside here, the first container. I'll add the address. You can add just the height of the map, and you can go ahead and give it a rounded border radius under advanced border radius, make it a 35. So far, so good. I'll update, and let's now go look at the preview of our contact page. Great, so we just changed that contact page from this ugly looking page or the empty page to this contact page here, having all our contact details. This is not still style up, but I'm going to fix that just in a while. But so far everything here looks nice and neat. Submit button, the FAQ section with our rounded borders. Oh, we need now to reduce on the padding at the bottom of the last container. In this case, instead of bottom 15%, let's just make it a 5%, just like at the top. Now I'm going to style up my text right over here in the text editor. So first of all, I need to add a paragraph here, and also bold this, bold the phone option, bold the email option, and bold the address option. Update, and then we are good to go. Congratulations on creating your contact page. Next, we are going to create our blog archive page. You see right over here, it's an empty page, but we are going to convert that into something like this. So when I come here to the blog, you see I have a number of blog posts listed with a sidebar with some widgets. And also we have, when you open the blog post, you see that it has the title, the text, and the content, and images within the content. To add a blog to our WordPress website, we are going to start off by creating blog posts or writing blog posts that will appear on our blog on the website. So to do that, we are going to come back here to our dashboard. I'll open up on the posts page. We have a default post called Hello World. I'll trash that because I don't need it to appear on my website. I'll add a new post. I'll add the post title. Then I'll add also the content. You can copy paste content from a Microsoft Word document or Google Docs, and you can start by, for example, here saying add a new block, a paragraph block, and you start typing. So for example, this is a new blog post, and if you want to delete this post or this paragraph, you can select the word, highlight it, and delete it. If you want to delete the whole paragraph without highlighting, you can just select the block, click on the three icons here, and then say remove paragraph. Now the question is, how do I add images, highlight, quotes, and maybe add links? Just like you see over right here on this blog, we have an image, we have a quote here, we have a highlighted part of this blog, and we have a link that is taking you out of this blog post or linking to an external website. How do we do that? Back to our blog post. Let's start by adding an image. So I'll come here, I'll add an image, upload that image if it's not yet already in your media library. There comes my image. You can add a caption over here. Then I would like also to add a quote. So I'm going to select this paragraph. I can convert the paragraph into a quote. So I can say this is a quote, and then I can add the name of the person or of the author. Then I can choose to highlight, like as you see here, I highlighted this part of the paragraph or this paragraph here. So I can come back here. I'll select the paragraph block. And when you look over here on the right hand side, we have, the block settings. We want to add a background. I'll select the background option, and I'm going to add a background color. Now I can also make changes to the text color in this case. So I'll change the text color and I'll make it white. That is specifically for this block. Now the other question is, how do we link out to another website or to a link on another website? Let me suppose that you want to link up to a link, let me say on my website, which is gotechug.com. Let me come to reviews. Supposing you want to link to a blog post like this over here. Open that blog post, then come over here in the address bar, copy the URL, come to the blog post where you want to add that link, come to that specific anchor text. So, for example, this, click on the link icon, paste the URL, and then select the option to open it up in the new tab, because you don't want your website visitors to leave your website when they are going to another website. So I'll add the link. And now we have this link over here taking our website visitor to another website on a specific blog post. The other thing you have to look into are the categories and the URLs. So for example, when I go to the posts option, you see we have something called a URL here, but we'll come back to that a bit later. Let's first come over here to the categories. So every other time you're writing a blog, that blog will be categorized under a specific category on your website. So in this case, I'm going to create categories. The category name is going to be called drainage, and I can say add a new category. By default, the drainage category is going to be selected because it is the only category we have at the moment. But I can as well create other categories like the installation and repair and replace categories. So I'll come here, create another category, installation, repair, and replacement. Now you may write a blog post that somehow fits in all the other categories, but in this case I want this only to be appearing in the drainage category. And after categorizing your content, I'll come here to the featured image. Now I am able to add the featured image to this blog post. This is the image that you see normally on the blog archives or the first image in the blog post or on the blog post. So this over here, so I'll come and then I'll say add a featured image. I'll upload my featured image because I don't have already this image on the website. So I'll come here and look up for that image. Here is my image. I'll add my featured image. Now there comes my featured image. You can add an excerpt text. This is the text that the search engine will read at the start of your blog post before it starts actually crawling the blog post. However, if you don't add this text here, the search engine will pick up the very first paragraph over right here on your blog. Now we are going to, first of all, save a draft. And once you save a draft, your blog post is going to generate a URL for your blog. Now, you may sometimes don't want to have the whole title of your blog post as the URL of the blog. So you can always come back over here to the URL option and then delete what you don't want to appear on your URL. So in this case, I don't want to have this part of the URL or this part of the title to appear in my URL. And I only want to show the tips and tricks for keeping your plumbing flowing. Now I'm able to say publish, and that means that I will have published my first blog post on this website. Now when I come back here to Drain Doctors, you remember that when we visited the blog archive page, we had the Hello World blog, but we have deleted that and now we have published a new blog post, and that blog post should be able to appear right here on our blog archive page, and boom, there you go. We have a new blog post, and if I open up this blog post, it should now be able to show us, the title, the meta tags over here, and the content in that blog post, just like we have formatted it. Now, we are going to go into the theme customizer to customize how our single blog post is going to look like. You see, when you look over here, our single blog posts have the title coming first, then the thumbnail is appearing, then the meta text or the metadata here, and then the content of our blog posts. On the other hand, there is a sidebar, a search widget, recent posts and comments, and the archives and the categories showing up. In this case, we don't even have a sidebar. How do we do that? I will exit to the dashboard. I'm going to come to Appearance, Customize. I'll open up my blog post archive page because we want to have a preview of what we are doing. So we are going to come over here to the blog option, blog archive, and we want to use this full width contain layout, and we want to have a sidebar. So sidebar layout, this is going to be our right sidebar. So that is for our blog archives. And the post structure, we are going to show a featured image. We are going to show the blog title and meta, like you see here. So we start with the featured image, then the blog title, and then the meta. And then lastly, we are going to also have the comments show up in the meta. For example, we have the comments, then the category, which is this here, and then the author, who is Drain Doctors in this case, right over here. If you enable the publish date, it will also now add the publish date over here in the meta. As well, you can rearrange how these are looking like. So in this case, I can drag and say the publish date is coming first, then the number of comments, then the category, and then the author, just like you see right over there. Now, in case you want to make changes to your blog title, so you can come over here and then choose a banner layout, whether you want the layout 1 or layout 2, and the structure of, your layout. So for example, maybe you want to start with a title and then the description of your content. But I'm not making any changes over there. I'm going to now go back and we're going to go to the single post template. So I'll open up this blog post because now we have been working on the blog archive. Now let's look into the single blog post template, how our blogs are going to look like once they are published. So we are going to start off by selecting the layout that we want. So we are going to use this layout over here called full width contained, and we will also have a sidebar, which is going to be the right sidebar, which is this here. Then we also want to enable related posts. So like as you see here, we have related posts showing up at the end of the blog post. So that's what we have just enabled here. You can even change the text from related posts to maybe similar posts, or you can even say more posts. And then you can also choose to align the title of the related post, whether to this left-hand side, center, or right. Then the number of articles or posts to appear in the related post section will be 2, and in the layout column grid of 2 columns. So this is what they are meaning. If you'll have 2 columns, and 2 blog posts. All right, so the post query can be edited over here, and then the post structure. So you want to show a featured image and then the post title, the metadata. You'll start with the comments, the category, and the post author. But in our case, we are not seeing the featured image appearing here. So how do we fix that? We're going to come here to the post title option, click over there, and here we want to set the structure of our blog post or the single blog post. And here we're going to come and enable the featured image. And when you look at this layout that we earlier created, the featured image is coming second after the title. So I'll come back here to our layout, grab and drag our featured image widget, and it should come second after the title. So you see that now the comments meta is going to move down, and now our featured image appears just after the title. You can enable the breadcrumbs to appear and an excerpt text to appear, but I'll leave those on the defaults or hidden. As well, you want to show maybe the comments and the author of the blog post and the publish date and the taxonomy. The taxonomy in this case means the category. So if I enable that, I'll come here and choose the category as the taxonomy, and you see that now we have our category appearing right in our meta section. We can choose to align our meta tags, but I'll leave them on the default settings. That's how now our blog post looks like, or the single blog post layout. What I'll do is, first of all, is to publish an update, and in case you want to make custom changes to the colors and layouts and the spacing of the inner widgets, that can be done over right here. For example, you can change the title color, the text color, the link color, the hover colors, the font title for the blog posts. But in this case, we are using the theme layouts and styles that we already created under the global settings. Now let's go and look into how do we customize what appears in our sidebars. So back over here, layouts, we are going to go to the sidebar. Over here, we can set the size of our sidebar. So in this case, by default, the sidebar is taking a 30%. These are the widgets, and here we can say, for example, when I click on the search widget, here we can choose to decide to customize. For example, this is the main sidebar, and customize how our search widget looks like. The recent posts widget, you can customize how this looks like as well by maybe changing the title, H1 tag, the size, and the alignment. And also you can as well make changes to what actually appears in that block as well. And again, go ahead and, for example, you can even disable and, for example, hide or delete this widget. So for example, remove the heading, and also, for example, remove this data over here. So in case you want to go ahead and customize how your sidebars look like, this is the right place. Come to the page or the single post page, or the page specifically where you want to customize your sidebars, and click on the pencil icon and go ahead and make those necessary edits. As you can see that now our blog or our single blog post page has changed from this layout to this other layout over here. And all other blog posts that will be published on your website will be having this layout. And in case you add more blog posts on your website, you'll have the recent posts section showing the recent posts just like this. And in case you have any comments, they'll appear here. And in case you keep publishing more content to the coming months or in the coming months, they will also display here. And all your categories will also be displaying here. Alternatively, on the blog archive page, your blog archives or your blogs will show up in this kind of setting, and more will keep showing up just like you see right over there. So in a nutshell, that's how you can add a blog to your WordPress website for free using the Astra theme and the Astra customizer, and also how you can create blog posts on your WordPress website in an easy and efficient way. Now, before we close up the tutorial, I also want to mention a couple of things. Like, there are things that you have to look into before you launch your website. And I created a PDF that you can actually download if you come to this website launch checklist. You can submit your email over here and I'll send you that website launch checklist PDF, which includes 10 crucial steps that you have to check through before you get your website launched. However, if you don't have access to the PDF, I have that blog post over here, and I'll also be linking it up in the description of this video to take you through things that you have to check before you launch your website. And on the other hand, if you want to take your website design skill set to the next level, I have a special surprise for you if you have been watching and following this tutorial. So I have this Elementor Pro Bootcamp course that will take you from beginner level designer to a pro-like level designer using the Elementor page builder. I'll take you through several steps on how you can take your website design skill set to the next level, like using the Elementor design system, using the Flexbox container, understanding the Elementor theme builder, getting started using the custom post types, loops, listings, and how you can use custom code and styling within your Elementor website, troubleshooting, performance optimization, and SEO. All these features are covered in that course. And if you've been watching this tutorial, I'll give you a 50% discount to access this course. So I'll be leaving the link right down in the description of this video. So in case you want to upgrade your website design skill set, this is a course I would recommend, especially if you want to be using Elementor as your page builder of choice. Congratulations! You've created your very first WordPress website using the Astra theme and Elementor. I hope this tutorial was helpful and that you feel confident enough to create your very first website from now on. Remember, if you ever get stuck or need additional help, you can always refer back to this video or reach out to me in the comment section below. And don't forget to download your free website launch checklist, which will help you ensure that your website is ready to go live and impress your audience. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that you learned something new. If you did, please like this video and consider subscribing to the channel for more WordPress related content and website design tutorials. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.